Alright, what's going on, guys? It's Jev. Finally, instead of just rumors and all this other stuff, we finally have an official trailer for UFC 5. You guys know I've been talking about this for a long time. A ton of the content on my channel is a lot of UFC content, and even the videos that aren't UFC or Request type videos. I mention UFC/MMA all the time. Recently just been putting picks out there of who I think is gonna win on certain, cards and fights and stuff like that because people ask. So UFC 5 was pretty hyped. People have been waiting a while for it. It's been a few years at this point. I don't really have much of an interest in playing UFC 4 at this point. But yeah, anyway, before we start this, if you want me to play some UFC 5 in the future, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna do it anyway. But if you want me to play UFC 5, let me know down in the comment section and by leaving a like on this video to let me know how hyped you are. And let's do it. So first thing immediately, I'm gonna break this down. First thing immediately, it's an M-rated game. Before it was teen, now it's M-rated. Likely because they said that they ended up upgrading like the fidelity and the way that cuts and other things look. Yeah, mostly it's probably because of the blood and lacerations and things like that. So it moved it from a T rating to an M rating. Valentina Shevchenko, game engine footage, one of the goats of women's MMA right there. Vegas cage. Frostbite engine. This is a really big thing. The other UFC games that were used, I'm pretty sure all those years, was under the Ignite engine. This is why from UFC 3 to UFC 4, like really, besides like some of the systems, not that much changed overall in terms of the look of everything. The created characters were very, very similar. Like you could basically copy and paste it. I did the exact thing with Request. It just didn't evolve much. It's kind of that similar thing with like Madden and FIFA where like year over year, you really don't get big improvements. And it's even less so with a lot of these EA games. I'm a Call of Duty YouTuber. I know what it's like to get, quote, the same game over and over again, but they actually have different engines. Between UFC 3 to 4, it's quite literally the same game. Changing over to the Frostbite engine is absolutely going to change the created characters, so we'll see what happens with that. Adesanya against Pereira, doing his signature thing. That's Volkanovski standing there. Shevchenko. Ooh. It actually looks really good. So immediately just looking at the character models, I mean, yeah, it's just game engine footage, so it's not, quote, in-game, because, like, obviously these are not the angles you're going to be fighting from and all this stuff, but sometimes you can at least see, like, some of the stiffness in whatever it is that they're doing, but still a little expressionless in the face. Bald Connor against Chandler. Big slam. Volkanovski versus Islam Makhachev. Goes for the armbar, rotates out. Hey, okay. That right there was not done in the other games much at all. Like, you can basically see the transitions here. So, boom. In the other game, you would get stopped right here against the fence, the clinch. Then it cuts to Islam just, like, basically having Volk in, like, a headlock. They're fighting the hands. He ends up rolling for, it looks like an anaconda or something. Darce, maybe. Goes for an armbar. Volk ends up getting out of it, and the animation looks really, really good. Rolls out of it, gets out of position, perfect defense, goes for the ground and pound right there. One thing, even in the other trailers, you would be able to see the stiffness between, like, the positions of characters. Whenever they move from side control to mount to stacked, a single collar clinching to Muay Thai, you would see the transitions here, but it actually looks very smooth. Maybe they're just longer animations, and that's just makes it look smoother. That could definitely be the case. Adesanya's character looks really, really good. Pereira's character looks great, and this is what they were talking about before. So they're saying that they were going to show more damage on the characters. There's going to be more detail. Doctor stoppages are going to be more common. I don't know if they're going to do a thing like Fight Night where you're actually like, you end up playing as the cut man where you're like trying to heal them as much as possible in between rounds. They haven't brought that to a UFC game yet from what I remember, at least not recently. So right here, they're just showcasing the fact that, number one, graphics and stuff upgraded on the characters. Models definitely look a bit different than they did over on the Ignite engine. And I do think that they absolutely look a lot better. They look a lot less plastic, although, I mean, my God, they're sweating a lot. Kind of reminds me of Mortal Kombat X when everybody was just really overly sweaty and it made them look shiny. I understand that fighters are actually sweating. I get it. I'm human. It's a little overdone sometimes because of the way that the lights and the graphics like interact with each other. The reflections are like too much. They let the fight continue right there. Boom. Goes for the knee. Off the fence. Left hand. Bob and weave. Hey, that's a pretty cool knockdown animation. Very realistic knockdown animation. Now, the question is the knockouts. It's a big deal, too, because it was a discussion over the last few years, because over time, the knockouts got more and more stiff and more, they had like an entire animation to them. There was no ragdoll, like what actually happens in real life. There's no predetermined way to fall down. If you get clipped and lose consciousness, momentum and gravity takes over, and it results in really silly knockouts, but also the most brutal knockouts. If all knockouts and knockdowns are going to result in this little Boom, get countered, and I'm just gonna stumble a little bit and fall backwards, kind of like how Robert Whittaker did. It's gonna take away the feel-good factor of like knockouts and like the variety in knockouts. It doesn't feel good. It feels too uniform sometimes if it stays like real tame like that. It makes sense to get knocked down like that. You know, he got hit with like a good shot, nice counter. Izzy isn't a huge power puncher. They're definitely not gonna go that in depth in the game, but yeah. Goes to stand over him. That's a hammer fist. Before you couldn't throw hammer fists like that. I wonder if it's like a separate move, actually throwing a hammer fist like that, the ground and pound. Also, the submission system is supposed to be different from what I've been hearing. Goes for the nice ground and pound. Oh, and he threw an elbow from that position too. Does the arrow thing. As real as it gets. John Bones Jones. Heavyweight John Jones. Oh yeah, he looks real good. This engine just absolutely clears the shit out of the other engine in terms of looks. The accuracy is very, very good for the most part. Fedor, they brought Fedor to the game. He does look a little weird. Fedor is a very bland looking guy in general. Scary guy, but this does look a little, you know, less good than the other models, I'd say. Maybe it's the hair. So if you get the deluxe edition, you get 3 days early access and more. You get Fedor Emelianenko, Muhammad Ali, and Mike Tyson. Now, all of this is kind of expected. Like the last one, they had like, you know, like Bruce Lee and Tyson Fury and all that stuff. They do this. This isn't anything brand new, but it is kind of surprising to me to see Fedor finally. It's surprising that the UFC actually wanted that to be a thing. Now, hopefully this music isn't going to get me clapped, but I'm looking back through this. I mean, oh, you can see the bruising damage from her throwing that leg kick right there. Hold on. See the bruising on the leg. I wonder if there's going to be a difference between like outside kicks, inside kicks, calf kicks, if they're going to show like different types of damage on their leg, be swelling, things like that. Because obviously there's a lot more than somebody's leg just getting bruised up badly. Quite literally watch their leg morph as they get leg kicked more and more and more from the swelling and the people developing hematomas on their head and crazy shit like that. I highly doubt they're going to do all that. Body punch, combos, throws a head kick, able to kind of eat it. It's actually surprising that they have bald Connor. Bald Connor. Models look good though. Big takedown, Chandler S takedown. This whole transition right here where they're like rolling out of it and stuff like that, this could straight up be like one button press, like somebody ended up winning the reversal mini game, whatever's going on in this game. Don't know what the mini game is in order to do submissions and what the grappling system is like on this game, but so over on MMA Orbit's Twitter, they've been tweeting out like more information about the game. I'm assuming it's on like their site or something about it, but draws will actually be in UFC 5. Wait, could have swore like majority draws were actually possible in UFC 4. From newly added draws in offline and online play to realistic updates to how the refs step in to save a down fighter from too much ground and pound, the number of ways a fight can end has grown in number and authenticity in UFC 5. That sounds good, but you know, you never really know how that's gonna go. If it turns into a thing where it's like a damage-based thing, like how much damage is someone taking, how many unanswered shots are they taking, this could result in like certain positions being like way too powerful and like people will just like cheese the shit out of it, but it sounds good. And the cover is also very odd. I don't know why they wouldn't just like use the usual style that they did with like actual fighters on the cover instead of these models, because it just looks odd and out of place. They're just like 3D renders just stamped in front of a background. I get it, that's what a video game is, but marketing wise, it just doesn't look that good. Okay, so standard edition, you still get Muhammad Ali, Bruce Lee bundle. Always, of course, we're gonna have Bruce Lee then, so he's in there as well. 4 alter egos. I assume this is a thing that I saw where it's like older versions of certain fighters. So like Conor McGregor, for example, he's like bald in that thing. I'm assuming that's his like modern day most updated model that they have anyway. But then they could show like 2013, 2014 Conor, 2015 Conor, 2016, stuff like that. Origins bundle, don't know what that means. 30th anniversary vanity bundle, don't know what that is either. Online career mode XP boosts. I'm gonna play this game regardless. I just don't know if Requise can be made properly. If it doesn't look anything like him, I'm not even gonna bother. I'm gonna play the game anyway, but it probably won't be Requise stuff if it's just not. I'm not gonna force it. I would just feel too weird about it. All new Fight Week challenges, features, and content that connect them with blockbuster UFC cards in a way that's never been done before. Fight Week will let players take part in daily contracts that get harder over the course of the week, while Fight Picks will task them with predicting the outcomes of upcoming UFC fights, with rewards doled out for those who prove to be successful. So it just seems like they're going more in depth. I really hope that like the training process isn't super grindy and just not fun at all. Like I understand like actually training in this whole sport is definitely a grind, but in game it's not fun for me to like try to stay efficient with my character. There is a button to skip a lot of the training, but then your character just gets an overall horrible week. Fitness stays low. It's really bad, so you have to sit there and commit to it during the career playthrough, and you just keep doing these same like 2-minute drills over and over again with the annoying ass AI. There are some things that I just avoided training in the career mode overall overall, just because of how the AI partners work. They'd have a challenge where you need to get like an X amount of uppercuts or something. So if I'm sitting here sparring with somebody in a gym and I need to be practicing my stand-up, why the fuck is the AI shooting takedowns relentlessly on me? That doesn't make sense from a training standpoint. Like, my character's just starting out, the person I'm fighting is a striker and everything. Why am I training against a grappler? Conor McGregor will have 3 different versions of himself in UFC 5. So yeah, there it is. Okay. So you got the more bald Conor, probably like peak Conor, and then you have the Conor that's on his way up to like the 145 belt, I assume, before Aldo, or even the Aldo fight. There will be a 2015 version of Leon Edwards. Boom, there it is. Just much smaller at this point in time. He's way more jacked now. UFC 5 career mode news. We've added an all new introduction which brings back Coach Davis, dude from UFC 4, the coach, that ends up like finding us on like some regional scene or some shit. And then he picks you up and the story goes from there. And then he disappears until like you're getting a belt. It's not like I expected a good story in that sense. It's a career mode, but features cutscenes from Shevchenko, who will welcome you to the UFC Performance Institute, new cinematics locations, and a refined focus on onboard. So they're really gonna break down like the fighting, I assume. I assume the tutorials will be nice and heavy. The issue is that like whenever you have like a really good tutorial system in a game, a lot of people get like intimidated by it and then they just don't do it. They just like hop into the game and they're like, dude, I'm just gonna press the punch button, the head kick button, and just, you know, I'll go from there. And then they get put on their back and they start screaming and crying and they wonder why they're getting dominated in every position except the stand-up. That's why we have the stand and bang mode for people just like that straight up do not want to deal with the grappling. And while that should be a mode, it has its place. Again, it's just a product of people being intimidated. We've also added social media. It was kind of in UFC 4, but it was kind of just a thing to either become kind of like a heel kind of character where you're just talking a bunch of trash, or just being overall respectful, or not engaging with it at all. Complete those and you get more hype and fans for upcoming fights, which, you know, gets you money faster, which gets you bigger fights more quickly. The UFC does not operate like a real sport. We look at the rankings and everything like that, we can look at all the stats, but at the end of the day, if you end up being more popular than somebody else, it's actually nearly as good as having a longer unbeaten streak. You can be number 5 and have more hype than the number 1 contender. It would actually pick you. It's not really operated like a sport. It's more operated like a business, which, I mean, is kind of divisive. I personally don't like that. I wish it would be handled more like a sport more often, but it's just the game. In game, I'm definitely going to want to try to get as many big fights as quickly as I possibly can. Yeah, so I mean, that's pretty much it. I'm going to be playing this shit regardless. I'm going to definitely want to do like a career playthrough. If Requise isn't possible in the game, like if he doesn't look dumb accurate, I'm just not going to do it. I'll do my own career mode. I know a lot of people want to see a lot of Requise stuff. It is fun making the content, but I'm not going to sit there and keep forcing it if it's just not really it. It'll just ruin it overall, so I'd rather just, you know, start my own career anyway. So yeah, just thank you guys so much for all the love and support on all the videos. Let me know down in the comment section, how hyped are you, and did you see anything in the trailer that I didn't see? Striking looks clean, grappling looks clean. There's supposed to be a gameplay reveal coming soon. I don't know what the date is on that, and I'll probably do a reaction to that as well. So yeah, it's been Jev, guys. Later.